perfect girlfriend.
I don't
But when
even
you
remember
find out
this
she's a
shit.
total psycho, you're stuck in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by rich people, with a blood-chilling nightmare planned for you next. What do? They're not going to let you leave until they get what they want. If you don't escape, you're gonna wish you were dead. I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat Get Out.
I mean, but he beat it though.
A black man wanders through a suburban neighborhood at night. No one else is around, and he's feeling pretty out of place. Listen, you don't want this. Already this movie's letting you know these places where you think you're safe, you're not. A strange white car begins to follow him, and the man turns around and walks the other way. He doesn't want any trouble, but as he looks back, he sees the car door is open and the driver is gone. He's suddenly attacked by the driver, and the scary thing is, the driver's wearing a knight's helmet. He dumps him in the trunk and drives out of there. This movie's already off to a freaky...
I know what to do. When you act like you're getting choked out, you gotta like act like you get choked out quicker. Like he choke you out like say you got like a minute left, and then you just like act like you already passed out. Like you just like he choke you out right. You just act like you passed out right. Then when the nigga think that you got him, you can breathe, elbow the shit out that nigga dick. There you go. Take
Start.
off.
6 months have passed and we meet a young photographer, Chris, who's planning a weekend trip to visit his girlfriend's parents. He's a little nervous, but she assures him her parents aren't racist. On their way there, he calls his best friend Rod to check in with him and gets warned not to go. He thinks things might get ugly when they find out their daughter's boyfriend is black, but it's just for the weekend. What could go wrong? Turns out, a lot. They accidentally hit a deer on the way and call the cops for assistance, but the officer who arrives asks for some ID from the boyfriend who wasn't even driving. In a white girlfriend of the year move, she chews out the cop for racial profiling and he begrudgingly lets them go. Now, police can ask for an ID card only if there's reasonable suspicion of a crime, and you're allowed to record what happens under the First Amendment without saying a word. But when this escalates, it seems the only way to win here is to be sponsored by a white person. She's the ideal girlfriend, but he's never seen this side of her before. Who knows what else she might have buried in there. They finally arrive at her parents' home and the boyfriend gets to meet her folks. Giving him a tour of the house, her dad tells him about the family. The mom is a psychiatrist, he himself is a neurosurgeon, and mentions his father lost to Jesse Owens, the black runner that proved Hitler was wrong about the Aryan race. He then meets their maid who's black, and their groundskeeper who's also black, but weirdly, the groundskeeper doesn't seem to like the boyfriend at all. The dad knows how it looks, a white family with 2 black servants. He explains they've been with them a long time and are now practically family. Okay, it's been a racially...
That's fucking count. I can't. I ain't trying to be racist, but being around a lot of white people is a little iffy, my nigga.
...charged afternoon, and he's taken it well, considering. But upstate New York is 83% white, and with blacks being kidnapped in the area, it might be a good idea to let others know your location. There are plenty of apps to contact emergency services, but this is useless if your phone is dead. So what can you do? A rich family next to a lake means they have a boat, and Coastal Guard regulations requires you to have a flare gun. And with the nearest house miles away across the lake, worst case scenario, we know we can get both a weapon and a distress signal if things take an ugly turn. The parents get to know the boyfriend and learn that he's an orphan ever since his mom died. He also has a smoking habit which they notice from his anxious jittering, and they do not approve. But he's in luck. The mom's a hypnotist and offers to help make him quit. Hold on, we've only just met, and you want to hypnotize me? This is getting intense. And if I were him, I would be extremely cautious around these people from this point on. But you can't let them know that or they'll be onto you and prevent you from getting out. Play it cool and double check your escape routes. An innocent excuse now will make them think they'll get a second chance later and let you leave in peace. The maid comes by with some tea for them, but as she's pouring his glass, she spaces out. Something's gotten into her. He notices that she seems a little off. She apologizes and the mother sends her off to get some rest, but it seems there's more to this than meets the eye. The girlfriend's brother makes an entrance, and this guy's giving off some pretty weird vibes. Later at dinner, we learn that he likes to drink and is a big fan of martial arts, adding that the boyfriend could be an excellent fighter given his frame and genetic makeup.
Fucker.
This is a massive red flag. The brother sounds like a plantation owner talking about a slave. He sees Chris as a commodity, not as a person, but as a beast. His attitude is ringing all kinds of alarms in the boyfriend's head, and as much as he might want to keep away, he can't. He's stuck here for one more night. That night he can't sleep, so he gets up and goes outside for a smoke. He looks across the yard and sees someone running towards him at full sprint. It's the groundskeeper, and he's acting pretty fucking weird. And so is the maid, who's making strange poses in the window. This behavior is not normal, but things only get stranger because when he comes back inside, the mother is waiting for him. She makes him come in for a serious chat and has him sit down to talk about his smoking habits. She wants to use hypnosis to help him, using triggers like this teacup to guide him to a more cooperative state. Now, I don't know exactly what that means, but it sounds like a major red flag. She asks him about his mother, and at first he's uncomfortable with the subject. Normally he would never talk about this with anyone, but then he opens up. She died in a car crash when he was just a kid, and he did nothing to help her. He begins to cry, and there's something weird about the way she keeps stirring her tea. He then realizes that no matter how hard he tries, he can't move. He was under hypnosis this whole time. Now with full control over him, she commands him to sink into the
I would spit on her. Loogie, nigga.
floor. He finds himself falling through a dark void, sinking deeper as his physical body is still completely paralyzed. Okay, this woman has serious skills. This is called the Esdell state. It's the deepest our minds can go, and this thing is no joke. Under hypnosis, you produce brainwaves that heighten suggestibility, and it makes you more willing to do what she says. If you want to resist this tricky bitch, brain science says math beats hypnosis, because math activates your analytical mind, and she won't be able to hypnotize you if you're already focused on something.
I'm putting y'all niggas on game, bro. If y'all ever, I think when I watch this movie, I think this shit is real. I'm so serious. I think it's like people like who be taking like niggas actually be taking over, bro. Like they be finessing. And they be getting in black bodies, bro, like,
something else. Now, if there were any early signs of this happening, I would make a time distraction to interrupt the hypnosis. By holding keys or coins in my hand, the hypnosis would make me drop the coins, making a loud noise and wake me up. Simple, but effective. The next morning, he's still in the clothes he wore from last night. Was it all just a dream? He finds his phone has been unplugged, which is weird since he's pretty sure he plugged it in the night before. Seems like someone was messing with it. He spots the groundskeeper outside and introduces himself, but something is seriously not right with this man. He apologizes for his bizarre behavior the night before, but then asks how his hypnotherapy session went, as Chris here begins to realize it wasn't a dream at all. He tells his girlfriend that her mom hypnotized him. It must have worked because now the thought of smoking makes him want to puke. But the scary part is, he can't remember any of the details. What else did she do to him? Some fancy cars start to arrive,
that nigga fucked him.
And a bunch of old white people get out. It's the family's annual shindig. He walks around mingling, and they all seem to have a special interest in him. One guy brags he knows
that many white people, I would have dipped.
Tiger Woods. Another woman asks if he's good in bed, and this guy describes being black as fashionable. It's really uncomfortable. Deciding to get some space from Whitey, he finds the only other black guest there. Turning around, he sees everything about this guy is wrong. The way he dresses, the way he talks, he's with a woman that's twice his age, and he doesn't even go for a fist bump. But there's one detail he missed that would have made all the difference. He doesn't look like he belongs here, and the secret is written all over his skin. He has tattoos on his neck and hand, so why is he pretending to be someone else? I'd ask him where he got his tattoos and what they mean, because if he can't answer that, then it tells me he's not who he says he is. And if all these people vouch for him, then I can't trust anyone here. When the boyfriend returns to the house and goes upstairs, all the guests stop talking and look up. This is one weird party, and it gets weirder when he finds his phone has been unplugged once again. He calls his best friend and mentions all the weird stuff that's going on, and he's immediately told to get out. They could make him do all kinds of freaky things under hypnosis. The maid interrupts him and apologizes for disconnecting his phone. He says it's no big deal and admits his discomfort around so many white people. Now if you thought she was strange earlier, this time she cranks the weirdness way up. She begins to cry, mentioning she's treated like family, and it's pretty disturbing. He's starting to piece together that these people have a dark secret that she can't tell him, and he's got to get to the bottom of it.
One of the drivers. I'm going outside in the front real quick. Take some photos. Let me take some photos, babe. See the driver? Elbow that nigga, knock him out, get in the car, take off.
But we all know at this point that's the wrong call, right? You were hypnotized, confirmed. You're being monitored, confirmed. Your communication channels are being disrupted, confirmed. Get out, get out, get out. He goes downstairs in time for all the guests to ask him, what's it like to be black? The boyfriend doesn't want any part of this, and passes the question to the brother from another mother, but he tells the group that he's had no complaints. Okay, now the boyfriend knows this guy's full of shit. He pulls his phone out to take a photo, but when the flash goes off, the guy goes blank, and his nose starts bleeding. He yells at the boyfriend, begging him to get out as he's dragged away, and he won't stop screaming. Everyone is told that the guy had a seizure triggered by the camera's flash, but after a quick session with the mother, he's all better. And Chris here doesn't believe a single word of it. He realizes it's time to get out of here, or it could happen to him next. Now the lies are worrying, but if it's me, there's no way I'm not taking another picture of this dude. not just to amuse myself, but also because I want to see what he says if the mother isn't there to shut it down. I'd also be taking pictures of everyone in the family and sending it to my friend. If I turn into one of these guys, there's more evidence to take them down. Getting some space, he tells his girlfriend that her dad is lying about the seizure, her mom is trying to hypnotize him, and her brother is racist. He can't stay here and wants to leave right now with or without her. It's the last thing you want to hear from your boyfriend, but she agrees to leave the next day. Meanwhile, the guests are having a silent auction and they're bidding for the boyfriend. One by one, they raise their bids until a blind man has won. Whatever he wants from the boyfriend is worth a lot of money, and they won't let him leave until he gets it. He sends the picture of the black guy to his friend, who calls him immediately and confirms they both know him. He's also the same guy who was kidnapped at the very beginning, and he's definitely not at all how they remembered him. The friend says if he stays any longer, he'll be turned into a sex slave, but then his phone dies. Chris here is ready to get out, so he starts to pack as fast as he can. He checks the closet to make sure he's got everything, and finds a box full of his girlfriend's photos with past boyfriends, all of whom are black. And the last two photos are the most shocking. She dated the groundskeeper and the maid. Okay, she's in on it too, and he's in more danger than ever. So now that means we definitely need to escape on our own. She'll pretend she can't find the keys and you'll get nowhere, so it's time to change your tactics. Upstate New York has miles of forest trails leading to main roads, and most of them are GPS mapped. I would take her phone, knock her out, lock the door, and leave through the window. Calling the police might backfire here, so I'd escape through the forest and call a friend to come pick me up, but you'll have to make sure the family doesn't see you first. He rushes her downstairs, but her brother blocks the front door. The rest of the family comes out to cut off his exits. Panicking, he yells for the keys again, and she reveals that she's had them the whole time. There's no way they were ever going to let him out of here. With no other option, he goes to attack the brother, but the mother taps her teacup and he freezes and falls to the floor. He's been hypnotized yet again. Falling deeper into the void, he's powerless to resist as he watches them carry him down into the basement. He wakes up strapped to a chair in front of a TV, and it plays a video of an old man who reminds us a lot of the groundskeeper. He explains they'll perform an operation on him that will somehow combine his genetics with their white superiority. These freaky racists have gone full Dr. Frankenstein here. Now it might seem futile, but escaping hand ties are done by magicians around the world. It's a simple trick. Enlarge your profile when being tied, so that when you exhale, you have more room to wiggle out. And if you've been tied unconscious like Chris here, you still have a chance. The chair is not fixed to the floor so it can be slipped, and most material can be stretched to slip out with enough time. But none of this matters if you keep getting knocked out. Meanwhile, his friend is trying to reach him. Getting suspicious, he does some research on the black party guest and finds out he's been missing for 6 months. He makes a police report about the disappearances, explaining that the girlfriend's family has been kidnapping black people to turn them into sex slaves, but he's laughed out of the building. Realizing he won't get any help, he has no choice but to take matters into his own hands. He calls the girlfriend to find out if she knows anything, and she lies that her boyfriend Chris left in a cab 2 days ago. Something's not adding up here. He asks what cab company the boyfriend took, and she can't give a clear answer. Now he knows she's lying, and secretly records the call, but she's already one step ahead. She accuses him of having a thing for her, and he freaks out and hangs up. She's good, but that just confirms he's right. Something is going on over there. Chris wakes up again to see the blind man on TV, who explains that his brain will be scooped out and replaced with his. It turns out the blind man bought himself a new body with a fully functioning pair of eyes. Chris here will have no control, and will just be a floating passenger in his own body. He realizes this is why all the black people are acting so strange. They're actually white people invading and controlling them. The maid is the grandmother, and the groundskeeper is the grandfather, and he's going to end up just like them if he doesn't find a way to escape. He nervously scratches the chair open, revealing cotton inside. He's forming a plan for escape, but before he can do anything, he's knocked out by the teacup again. The dad begins the surgery and cuts the blind man's scalp off, as the brother enters the room and unstraps him. He looks away only to get knocked down with a bocce ball. The boyfriend was awake the whole—
Man, I would have finished that nigga off. What the fuck is you knocking that nigga on? To the nigga bubble guts on the floor,
stuffing cotton in his ears to block the sound because you can't get hypnotized if you can't hear it. These cotton balls were a great idea, but it wouldn't work because hypnotism has much less to do with sound than it does your attention. If you've ever driven home only to find you have virtually no memory of the car ride, it's because you were in a self-induced hypnosis. Even if he had noise-canceling headphones, he'd still be at risk. By concentrating hard on something else like picking cotton, you will be able to effectively self-hypnotize and therefore block out the teacup trigger against your will. Realizing something is wrong, the dad steps into the hallway and gets a stomach full of antlers. It's a brutal death that he definitely had coming to him. He watches him die in satisfaction, dropping the deer head and walking away. as the room goes up in flames. Determined to survive, the ex-boyfriend goes upstairs and finds his phone, but comes face to face with the mother. Both of them see her teacup lying on a table, and they rush for it, but he gets there first and breaks it. She grabs a letter opener and stabs him in the hand, but he doesn't flinch. Instead, he uses it to kill her, which is pretty badass. He makes it to the front door and gets grabbed by the brother and locked into a chokehold. He's nearly knocked out, but has a brilliant idea. He opens the door, and when the brother kicks it closed, he stabs his leg. After knocking him to the floor and stomping him to death, he takes his car keys and leaves. Turns out it was the brother's car we saw at the beginning of the movie. He nearly makes it out, but crashes into the maid. In the house, his ex-girlfriend has been searching for her next target, but the noise from the impact alerts her that something's wrong. Now I know it's heartless, but he needs to leave her on the road. If he takes her to the hospital, the grandmother will scream she's been kidnapped and it will just lead the police to the string of murders you've left behind. There's no way they'll take the word of a black man over a dead white family in this part of town. But if he actually does kidnap her and records what happens when he flashes his camera, he's now got a case to take to the police. He's almost free, but she wakes up and attacks him and they swerve into a tree. This guy just can't catch a break. Leaving the dead maid, he gets out and sees his ex with a rifle shooting at him. He limps away as fast as he can, but the groundskeeper runs up and pins him down. He's able to reach his phone and take a photo, and the flash shocks the groundskeeper. He gets up and asks for the rifle, and when the ex hands it over, he shoots her in the gut. In tears, the free man reloads the rifle, puts it to his chin, and pulls the trigger. It's tragic, but the girlfriend isn't dead just yet. He manages to get to the rifle before she can and tries to strangle her, but the police arrive, and he's probably going to get arrested given how things appear. This is really unfair. Are they actually going to let her get away? But he's in luck, because that's a TSA car, and his friend steps out. They drive off together as the friend tells him I told you so, leaving the girlfriend behind to die alone in the dark. But what do you think? How would you beat the racist?
Damn, nigga, that shit is live as fuck. How would I beat it, nigga? Just like that. Nigga, I would have just left. The fuck, nigga? Nigga, 2 minutes in, nigga, I'm